Hey, welcome in Stinkin Truth Podcast alongside Mike Evans. I am Mark Schlereth. Eventually, we're going to sell this damn thing, Mike, and it is going to make big time cash. But until that time, we're just going to keep talking about the NFL
why not?
and dazzle them with brilliance, Mike, or baffle them with bullshit, one or the other, but maybe a little bit of both. So anyhow, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Come on. We're talking football. We're not exactly digging ditches and breaking rocks over here. So let's do it. I'm curious, with the release of the NFL schedule this week, how did you feel about the way it was done? You know, they kind of sprinkled in over the first few days of the week some different leaks, international leaks, select networks, some of their premier games, and then finally the big roster reveal or the big schedule reveal on Wednesday. What'd you think about it?
I just thought it was so NFL. It was so Bigfoot. It was so, oh, really? Let us just pull our balls out and flop them on the table, right? Like, oh, what? The NBA playoffs are going on right now? Really? Oh, yeah. Major League Baseball, right? Oh, Aaron Judge has got 15 home runs and 41 RBI, and he's batting .412. Whoop, whoop. You know, like, let's go ahead and start leaking news and just letting you guys all know that if it's a pissing contest, we can piss longer and stronger and further than you. And that's what the NFL does. It is such. I'm telling you what, I always tell you this. I'm a really, really gracious loser, but I'm an absolute dick when it comes to winning. I will rub it in. I will let you know about it. I am probably the least gracious person in the history of winning. And that's the NFL, man. They give 0 Fs. They don't care. And they're basically saying, let's make sure that we go ahead and release. Let's just trickle stuff out. A little bit here, a little bit there, just to trump the NBA playoff news or whatever the case may be. And I'm here for it. I think I love it. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I like one big giant, NFL dump of the schedule. But I, for one, I kind of like the little international games. I kind of like hey, week 16, we've got a doubleheader. I like that stuff that kind of trickles out along the way before you get the big schedule release.
Well, I mean, think about here in Denver, right? We found out early in the week that the Broncos are going to be playing the Chiefs on Christmas night, and that just immediately led into a conversation about, hey, is the gap closing between the Chiefs and the rest of the AFC West? Could you see a scenario in which the Broncos or the Chargers maybe even end up winning the AFC West? So those are the kind of conversations that we can have with these leaks coming out or these early reveals, which I guess maybe is a great question to debate. Is the gap closing in the AFC West?
I believe so. I know we talked about this in the last one. I believe so. I mean, obviously, if Mahomes is your quarterback and he's healthy and Andy Reid's the head coach and, he's one of the most accomplished head coaches in the National Football League history, the Chiefs are still the team to beat. But is it closing? I would have to imagine it's closing. What do they get back at the wide receiver position? How do they fix their offensive line? Is the kid Josh Simmons, who they drafted out of Ohio State, is he going to be ready? I think they took him at 31. Is he going to be ready, to roll and to play that and solidify that left tackle position? So there's a lot of questions in regards to the Chiefs. And obviously, you look at what the Broncos did. You look at what the Chargers have done. Chargers winning 11 games last year. I think the Broncos won 10 games. The Raiders have got to be better, right? They've got Pete Carroll, legit coach. And, so all those things I think are all those things are reasonable. They're still the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's still Patrick Mahomes, and you still have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I think I think it's reasonable. I think, we discussed that in the past, and part of that is wish casting because I want the Chiefs to lose, right? I want to see some fresh blood in there, so there's part of that goes with that. But yeah, I think it's legitimate to question who's going to win the West.
Micah Parsons, he came out, did another one of his social media posts where he said the Cowboys are going to win 12 games. And I'm just kind of curious. You're somebody that always kind of bristles at the idea, build your career first, then your brand. And increasingly, we see a lot of folks, a lot of players, a lot of young athletes who want to maybe build their brand before they build their career or while they're building their career? What do you make of Micah Parsons? At what point do you think the Cowboys are like, can you just, zip it?
Yeah. Well, did you see, because he's doing it from a golf cart.
Yeah.
And he's got CeeDee Lamb in the other seat. And he goes, I look at the schedule and I see, 12 wins. And CeeDee Lamb was like, it's just like backing away, like,
yeah.
dude,
hey, man.
Yeah.
Don't write a check that I have to cash, man.
Right. And so I think CeeDee's reaction was really funny in that. The other thing, and I talked about this on Breakfast Ball on my TV show this morning. I'm like, and I'm not going to say every NFL player is this way, and maybe it's changed, maybe the younger generation, goes through the schedule, and I always make fun of you every year when the schedule comes out, because you're like, well, let me look at the schedule here. That's a win. That's a win. That's a loss. That's a win. That's a win. That's a win. That's a loss. That's a win. Really tough stretch here. Got a bunch of road games. Loss. And I'm like, give me a break. Nobody does that.
But Steak, anybody who does that, you know what you end up doing usually? You end up right around what the team ends up doing.
Right. I mean, it's never the games that you pick, though. It never works out the way you pick them. There's always a couple of I didn't expect that one.
Right.
But like as an NFL player, I looked at two things. Like my time in Denver, my 6 years in Denver, there were only two things I looked at when the schedule came out. Maybe three things. Okay. But just for the schedule, I looked at when's our bye week, because, most likely I'm going to be having a surgery during our bye week. So let me get prepared. Yeah, a little cleanup. Let me get prepared for that. So when's our bye week? That was one thing I looked at. And then the other thing that I looked at was I looked at my toughest opponents, not the rest of the schedule, but like when I played in Denver, the San Diego Chargers at the time defensively were an absolute bitch. I mean, I hated the guys that we had to play against up front, and the way they played their defense was every year the hardest matchup we had for 6 straight years. And their team stunk, right? I mean, we're going to beat them 24-7. Like that was going to be the score, but it was the hardest 24 points we had to put up.
Right.
And we ran the ball against everybody in the National Football League except the Chargers. And if we had 100 yards rushing against the Chargers, it was because we carried it 32 times. Right. It was one of those type of games. And they had Jamal Williams and they had John Perella.
Oof.
And John Perella was like, I had to play against him every game. And it was like, man, that was one that you're just like, set your jaw. This is going to be an absolute bitch. And I'll never forget when they got Jamal Williams. It was so funny because he was on the other side. And I think it was the way it went was Gary Zimmerman at left tackle, me at left guard, Tommy Nalen at center, Brian Habib at right guard. And then we had like Tony Jones at right tackle. And I'll never forget, like the first time I broke the huddle and the Chargers, Jamal Williams was like a rookie, right? And he lined up and we break the huddle and I walk up the line of scrimmage and I see him across from Habib. Maybe it was Danny Neal at the time. I'm not sure which one it was, but he didn't have any tape on his hands or his fingers or his wrists. And I was like, oh, shoot. Everybody's got gloves on, tape, right? He had no gloves, no tape on anything. And I'm like, some bitch, he's tougher than I am. Like I instantly was like, oh, shit. And I'm telling you what, man, there was a time for several years where that dude was a one-man wrecking crew. And like I said, man, I have nothing but the utmost respect for John Perella. He was one of the great players I ever played against that you probably never heard of. The average fans never heard of. That dude was an all-day sucker, man. He's strong. He couldn't move him off the ball. And I felt like I could take anybody off the ball. I always felt like I could really run block dudes. It was like set your jaw. So those are the two things. And then the third thing I looked at was okay, when's the playoffs? Matter of fact, the funny story. So in 1997, I'm having all kinds of back problems before the 1997 season. And I ended up having surgery after like 11 games, back surgery, and missing the last 27 days of the regular season, coming back and playing in the playoffs. And that's the year the Broncos won their first Super Bowl. But here's a true story. I'm sitting in the training room as the schedule's released, the day the schedule's released. I'm in the training room. And so back then, it wasn't a big deal. Like, they released the schedule and it was in the USA Today the next day, right? Right. So that's kind of where you saw it. And so I'm in the training room, remember the paper, the USA Today, and I'm kind of flipping through. I got ice on my back. I'm doing whatever, I'm doing, flipping through the paper, and I'm looking at the schedule. And our head trainer was a guy by the name of Steve Antonopoulos, Greek. And I was like, oh my gosh, Greek. I go, we're going to win the Super Bowl. And he goes, what? I go, we're winning the Super Bowl this year. And he goes, how so? And I go, well, dude, it's right here. It's in the USA Today. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, look, it's Super Bowl 32. It lands on January 25th, which is my birthday. But not only is it my birthday, January 25th will be my 32nd birthday. Yep. So we are going to win the Super Bowl 32, on the day I turn 32. I go, it is written in the cards. It's written in the cards.
Even then, that early, you were calling this?
This was in April.
Wow.
Or May, whenever it was released. Yeah. And I was like, we're winning the Super Bowl. And then I didn't really ever think about it again. It was just one of those things that you say. And then the next thing you know, I'm the only person in the history of the Super Bowl to win the Super Bowl on his birthday, where the birthday course, the year of that, the age corresponded with the number of the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 32 on Super Bowl 32. Or 32 years old on Super Bowl 32.
Yep.
How about that?
Not bad.
That's a record. Nobody will ever do it again. Not a player, maybe a coach.
Right.
But not a player.
Let's get to, speaking of Super Bowls, Derrick Henry signs a new deal with the Baltimore Ravens. And I know, I think I saw a graphic on your Breakfast Ball show today, how Lamar Jackson's performance has improved pre-Derrick Henry's arrival to what we've seen post-Derrick Henry's arrival. I mean, is this, you guys, John Elway finally got over the hump when it came to winning Super Bowls when Terrell Davis came along. Do you think we're going to say the same thing about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson getting over the top? It was the arrival of a stud running back. Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, ultimately, you look at it like people are asking me today, like, hey, 31 years old, is it smart to play a 31-year-old running back? That dude is not, he's an alien. Yeah. He's not from this planet. That dude, I was calling a game and I was standing beside him. This is on Friday while I was at the practice. And he's every bit of 6'3", maybe 6'4", and he's 250 pounds, and he can outrun like 190-pound DBs. He runs away from 190-pound corners. He leaves them. It's unreal. Like, that dude is an alien. Like, he's from a different planet. And he has probably done some anal probing. That's what I'm saying right there, right? Like, when you're an alien, we all know that all aliens anal probe. That's fact. It's science. So extraterrestrial science.
Yes.
From Mark Schlereth.
So when they bring you up onto the ship, that's the first thing they do. It's like being you, it's like, it's like checking your temperature, right? Yeah. I only check my temperature rectally because I want complete and total accuracy. Yeah. So I think that's what the aliens are doing, because
they're sticklers. They're sticklers is what you're
accuracy
saying.
Because if you think
they're
about
alien.
Right. You think about the way aliens operate. First off, they've got all that technology, right? Otherwise, the UFO is just like it makes no sense. It flies like this. It goes, boom, gone. To have that kind of technology, the first thing you want is accuracy. What do we know about accuracy?
Good point.
Rectal thermometers. That's it. So, boom.
Because one thing, the aliens, they're not going to cut corners.
No, they don't have the technology or build pyramids because they cut corners.
You're not going to travel millions and millions of light years,
right? If
you don't do things accurately.
And the other thing is, you're not putting a cyborg on the planet to play running back for the Ravens, right? and worry about him being 31 or 32. Right. It doesn't matter. He's an alien. Those guys, they still have aliens that they caught from Area 51 back in the 60s. They're still alive.
Still got
thriving.
Them, huh?
Yeah. Have you not seen Men in Black?
Yep. Saw them, 2 or 3 of them, right?
Yeah. Come on. Keep up, people. Yeah. Keep up.
Look into the light. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Is it safe to say, because I can only think of one other person that would fit into this conversation. Is it safe to say that no NFL player going into this season faces more pressure to win than Lamar Jackson? Other than maybe Josh Allen.
Josh Allen? How about, I mean, as long as we're going down this road, what about Joe Burrow?
They haven't had the kind of success of late that Baltimore and Buffalo have had. Baltimore and Buffalo, you feel like they're knocking on the door, right? They're knocking on the door. They're that close. Yeah, the Bengals were there a couple of years ago, but since then, I wouldn't put them or Joe Burrow in that category.
See,
plus Burrow has played in the Super Bowl.
Right. But here's where I would put Joe Burrow in that conversation. All right. Joe Burrow lobbied for them to sign both their wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
He got what he wanted. Their offensive coordinator came out and said, hey, we're just going to outscore people. To which I responded, well, you tried that last year. How'd that work? You didn't make the playoffs, right? And then this Trey Hendrickson stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not good. Trey Hendrickson is the sack leader over the last 2 years, led the league in sacks last year, is scheduled to make, I think, $17 million or something like that.
Yep.
Had 17 and a half sacks last year. And he's 1 year older. I believe he's 1 year older than Myles Garrett, who just got a 9-figure deal. And then your coach calls you up. Like, this is bad. This is a bad precedent, Mike. This is why that I want to be the coach and the general manager. This is why that failed miserably back in the days of, Mike Shanahan, Mike Holmgren, all these guys that wanted to have that ultimate authority to pick the groceries, and cook the meal, right? Because now all of a sudden you got Zach Taylor texting Trey Hendrickson saying, hey, if you don't show up to the mandatory camp, you're going to get fined.
Right.
And now it looks like this relationship has been severed to the point where I don't know that it's going to be fixed. Now, maybe a big chunk of money will fix it. It probably would, but it doesn't sound like they're negotiating. He said since the draft, there have been 0 negotiations. They have cut off conversations with Trey Hendrickson and Trey Hendrickson's camp. And so not only are you not paying your defensive guys and you're ignoring that, but you're saying, hey, Joe Burrow, we believe that we can just win by outscoring people, even though we proved we couldn't do it last year. So it's all on your plate. Right. Go win it for us. And if Joe Burrow doesn't do it, you know what? The fate of the organization lies on your shoulders, because it's really a 1-year deal with T. Higgins, and your coach is going to get fired. If they don't make the playoffs again this year, everybody's getting fired, right? They fired their D coordinator last year. It'll be Zach Taylor next year. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow. I'm with you on Lamar. I'm with you on Josh Allen. I'm with you on those guys, but there's a ton of pressure, I think, on Joe Burrow as well.
Yeah, I guess I feel like Joe, not skates. That's not fair. When it comes to the criticism or comes to the expectations, I just think it's massive on the shoulders of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. You talk about MVPs, right? I mean, and at some point, you got to back up the MVPs by winning a Super Bowl. You got to prove that you can stand up to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You got to do these things. Because in the age of, all right, if Tom Brady's the established GOAT, hey, there were plenty of people, plenty of quarterbacks, plenty of teams that got their shots in and got their licks in on Brady and the Patriots during their run. Plenty of other Peyton won Super Bowls. Roethlisberger won Super Bowls. Eli won Super Bowls. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. At some point, some of these quarterbacks have to be the equivalent of those guys I just named.
Well, yeah, and Lamar got bounced by the Buffalo Bills last year, but to his credit, he drove them down. Mark Andrews drops, what was it, 2-point conversion he dropped. He also had a fumble in that game. Like Lamar, you could really be critical, and I've been critical of the way he's played in the playoffs, deservedly so, because the way he started his career, he playoff-wise, he was not very good. The last 4 games that he's played in the playoffs, his numbers have been great. And part of it is, then I put it back on John Harbaugh. I put it back on their offense coordinators for getting out of their game plan. Here's, to me, the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in football when it comes to just being physical and running the ball and doing all those things. The issue is when they get down, the recipe to beat Baltimore is saying, hey, man, we don't want to contend or deal with their run game, because it's so unique and it's so hard to defend because Lamar is a freak show, right?
Right.
He's an absolute freak show. So if we can get up by 10, if we can get up by 14 early, it takes them out of running the ball. And we remember going back to the playoffs a couple of years ago, wasn't it against Kansas City where they had 7 attempts or just garbage offensive game plan because they got down and they just kind of quit and gave up on it. And so some of that lack of production, I got to hold the coaching staff accountable for that.
So Lamar, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, anybody else you want to put in that category, and that really facing pressure to get over the hump?
Well, that's it.
Dak Prescott, no, coming off injury.
Right. And it is the Cowboys, right?
Hey, they're going to win 12 games this year.
Yeah, that's good.
Micah says so.
Yeah, Micah said so. I'm trying to look at me. Isn't it time for everybody Herbert? We all talk about
Herbert, yeah.
Herbert, and he's been that guy that's been on the list is the next great quarterback. Yeah. And when it comes playoff day, he's never won a playoff game, and they haven't been any good when it comes to that. So I think there's some pressure on him. I'm trying to think of Purdy. Some of the weapons are gone in San Francisco. He's going to get this $50 million contract. Is Purdy under pressure?
Jared Goff.
Yeah, they've been so good, and they have not been able to produce here. What about my division? Anybody in my division, the NFC South?
No.
I can't wait to call the two schedule. Speaking of schedule release, I was thinking about this, and I'm like, there's nothing better than when Carolina travels to New Orleans for a Panthers Saints matchup. That is going to be solid football.
Well, I will say this, even though you were stuck with a lot of NFC South games, you know how I feel about you. Your work ethic is legendary. Mm-hmm. So I know you were the hardest prepared analyst out there for that Bowser of a football game. So
yeah, I was ready to roll.
What do you need to know about the Panthers?
Yeah,
what do you need to know about the Falcons?
I got you. I'm all over it.
I got you.
All over it.
So, all right. Well, we will have a whole bunch of new information coming out. We'll have OTAs ready to start up here very, very soon. Oh, last thing about the schedule release, by the way, I want to bring this up. How do you feel about the schedule release videos that every team now is putting out, and really is pressure to put out? You got to come up with some creative way to release your schedule, and that's what everybody does. Some with some enormous success. Seattle's was lauded as maybe the best one. Some a little mixed. Like, I thought the Broncos one was a good concept with the idea of kids mutton busting, getting up in their rodeo gear with the teams that the Broncos are playing, their logos on the helmets, and then watching the sheep toss the kid into the dirt, and you see him rolling around the dirt with the team, the Cowboys or the Giants or logo like that. And then there was the really bad, which was like Cleveland's, which was just kind of creepy. And then you had the Colts, who had to pull theirs down because they had, let's see, the Coast Guard arresting Tyreek Hill. They had drunk Patrick Mahomes' father fighting John Rocker. I mean, so what do you think about overall some of these videos?
Yeah, there are some. I don't think they do a really good job. There are some that are very creative. There are a lot that look like they got pieced together, and like it's almost like, you know, when you're sitting around like in college having drinks with your buddies, and you know you're talking about how you're going to steal the test and get an A on the final, you know, and you're sitting around, and then you go into the final. And you're like, damn, I should have just, instead of sitting around drinking all night discussing how we're going to steal the test, I should have just studied. I probably would have passed this damn thing. So I just like, some of it looks like it almost snuck up on them. Like the Broncos one for me, I watched the Broncos one, and I'll be honest, that's the only one I watched because I'm not really all that interested. And I thought the Broncos got an F. Like it was I'm like, could you come up with a little bit more creative? You know, like the kid gets dumped from the sheep and he falls with this, you know, face dirt, and that's a face plant. Like, what? Like, the Colts just face planted?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, it was just like, it felt stupid to me.
They did one with Jacksonville. It was Duval Dufell.
Yeah. Yeah. Duval, more like Dufell in the dirt. And I'm like, who are the clowns, the ass clowns that wrote this? Like, I would have been, if they would have asked me to voice it, they don't ask me to do anything. But if they would have asked me to voice it, first I'd have charged them.
Right.
And then secondly, I was like, if I had to read that, I'd be like, no, we're gonna have to
rewrite. Send this back to rewrite.
This is bad. This is really bad. So, by the way, speaking of schedule, really quick, I think I saw that Detroit had the toughest. I think it was the toughest road schedule in the history of the National Football League, something of that nature.
Really?
And they have, like, you know, Jared Goff has historically been a really good dome quarterback, not a really good outside quarterback. I think they've got 7 outdoor games this year. But now here's the good news. 6 of them happened before the middle of November.
Okay.
So they should be in decent weather. But I thought that was kind of intriguing, kind of interesting.
Well, I just get the sense that whether it's these schedule release videos, that there's a feeling of I don't know, not that it's jumped the shark. It's just like it's become so ultra competitive, and there's such a feeling of one-upsmanship, and you have to come through with something, otherwise you're ridiculed. I'd put NFL schedule release videos, gender reveal parties,
right,
and high school graduation parties all in the same boat when it comes to what are we doing? Yeah. Why is everything so overproduced and overplanned? Why?
It's what we do because you know why? Got to have a good Instagram video, right? Got to show everybody that my life is just really, really going well. It's really going well. I love the gender reveal videos where the guy's like, I got in trouble at a gender reveal party. Like, who knew I wasn't supposed to come out of the bathroom with my pants off, right? No, it's not that kind of gender reveal. Oh, my bad. Anyhow,
in case you're wondering, here you go.
Look, I'm a dude. All right, for everybody involved.
On that note,
for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth Podcast, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Download it, share it, subscribe, do all the things that you do. We appreciate you guys, and we'll be back with you guys next week. Thanks, Mike.